Have you ever noticed some people suddenly decide they want to completely change their life overnight? They suddenly crave a new city, a new career, and a completely different personality. The sensation is often described as electric. You feel a sudden, intense surge of readiness, and it's easy to believe that this is a moment of profound positive life motivation. But research into the human mind suggests otherwise. This sudden intensity is rarely the start of a lasting transformation. Instead, the brain often generates this surge as a protective response. When your current reality becomes too heavy to process, the mind looks for a way to detach entirely. The drive isn't actually about building new habits. It's a reaction to the specific version of yourself that is tied to your current circumstances, a version you no longer want to occupy. This fantasy of an overnight reinvention suggests an internal pressure point has been reached. It raises a critical question. What is the mind actually trying to outrun? This urge typically starts with emotional overload. Over months or years, the accumulated weight of daily routines, past mistakes, and a stagnant environment begins to feel physically heavy. Psychologists identify this as identity fatigue. Your ingrained emotional patterns and reactions have become so repetitive that your own personality starts to feel like an exhausting chore. This diagram illustrates an overtaxed mind. As dark emotional baggage packs tightly together, the brain craves an instant rebirth. We romanticize fresh starts because they appear clean. Imagining a new location will cause these heavy shapes to evaporate into a blank space. This is known as the clean slate illusion. It is a cognitive error where the brain mistakes the temporary relief of a new idea for an actual change in behavior. Massive emotional intensity creates a sense of urgency. It tricks you into believing that because you feel different in this moment, you have already become a different person. Looking closer at the psychology of these sudden shifts reveals a difficult truth. The craving for a new life is often a way to avoid feelings of failure, stress, or regret. The brain performs a constant energy calculation. It is easier to fantasize walking through a glowing doorway into a new life rather than standing still to process your current pain. A fantasy provides immediate relief, whereas actual healing is a slow process that requires sitting with uncomfortable emotions. This reveals the flaw in the overnight escape plan. Your psychological patterns are stored in your brain, not your surroundings. This means your emotional baggage travels with you. A new job, a new city, or even a new look can provide a temporary distraction, but these things cannot rewrite the way you internally respond to stress or loneliness. Because your internal map remains the same, any geographic escape eventually fails. Once the novelty of the new life wears off, the old emotional patterns inevitably resurface. Real change requires the brain to physically rebuild its neural pathways through repetition. Unlike the sudden flash of a fantasy, this is a slow, incremental process. This chart shows the conflict. We chase the sharp vertical spike because it provides an immediate dopamine hit. But actual change is the slow, shallow line. We often abandon real progress because it feels ordinary and slow compared to the fantasy. To create lasting change, you must first learn to process your current environment instead of fleeing from it. You have to address the negative emotions you are feeling right now. Second, stop using emotional excitement as a measure of progress. Transformation is usually happening when the process feels boring and repetitive. If the work feels unglamorous and routine, you are likely on the right track. Finally, focus on adjusting specific habits rather than deleting your entire identity. Small tweaks to your daily behavior are more effective than trying to wipe the slate clean. Personal growth isn't about replacing yourself with a stranger. It's about the slow, patient work of healing the person you already are.